Daddy sang bass,
Mama sang tenor.
me and little brother joined right in there. 'Cause singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days it won't be long, I'll rejoin them in song. I'm gonna join the family circle at the throne.
Growing up, Red River Métis was there was no connection to being Métis to me, because I'll tell you this story. When we grew up in Grand Marais, we were all of the same culture and we were all mixed blood. We didn't know there was such a thing as Métis. I never found that out until 1967, when the MMF was first organized in Manitoba. I was very happy after that point, because now I knew that I belonged somewhere, because I knew that there was native blood in the family and there was white blood. And I'll tell you a story. I heard my grandmother speaking Cree. It could have been Michif, I'm not sure, because I didn't understand. And I went home to my mother and I said, "Mother, are we Indian or what?" She says, "Oh no, we're not Indian. You're Scotch. You take after your father." My father was Métis too, but we didn't know what we were dealing with. And we were very ashamed to be classified as Indians, as they were called in those days.
We didn't know who we were. We were just Manitobans, right? And then some old lady used to say, Vezina. Used to call it Frenchman. That's all she ever said to us, you know. And then and we grew up cutting wood for a living, like fence posts and all that for the cedar. I guess that's about what we used to do, like for a living, like, you know. And as far as, like she said, Métis, we never heard of the word.
When you were building wood, or when you were getting the wood, Dad, I remember you told me a story that you and your dad, Papa Norman, you had to walk to Laconia. So that's how many miles from here?
Well, when we used to cut wood, we used to have walk 2 miles to the bush through here, you know, through the. There wasn't even any trails or nothing there. We had horses, of course. And then when we used to go pick up our mail and all that and buy groceries from Laconia, 4 miles away, we used to have to walk up the railroad track.
There used to be trains running, right, from the mill in Pine Falls to Winnipeg. And that was how all the wood was hauled in to Winnipeg by train. And of course there was traffic, and you could jump on the train, you could pay your little fare down to Laconia. I, at the time, was living in Powerview because my dad had to move there when the hydro plant was being built, because there's no work in the winter down in Grand Marais, and I guess he wasn't into fishing right at that point in time. And so we lived in Pine Falls for 4 or 5 years while that hydro plant was being built. And so I would come down to Laconia, a runabout kid I was, 13, 14 years old, jump on the train with my little cousin, and we'd come to Laconia and get off. And on this one trip, there was a young fellow on there, and he looked pretty cute to me. I thought, hey, this is a tough looking little guy. I think I'd like to meet him. So I went and I introduced myself, and we're talking, and he had a nice watch on. This one it's a true story. He had a nice bull of a watch, and I wanted to see his watch. I'm fantasizing till this day about watches. I loved watches. And so he showed me his watch, and I said, "Can I try it on?" "Yes, you can try it on." Takes it off. I put it on. I said, "Okay." He said, "I think I better take my watch back. I'll give it to you tonight when I see you at the dance." I said, I made a date with him. I want to go to the dance. I'll be at the dance. Come and get your watch.
I'll add a little story to that too. So my mom there, she said, "Hey, Doc, where's your watch?" I said, "Oh, I met the girl on a train and she took it from me." And she couldn't get over that. And I don't know. I can't remember what happened after that.
Well, you must have told
We
her
met, we
that
met.
I'll give you.
Unreal.
So
Takes
you
my
must have
watch
told
yet
your
to
mom.
mom.
Aw.
Wow, eh?
So you told
Yeah.
mom that you would get it back, and
Yeah.
that made her happy.
Wow, eh?
So I did give it back.
And you got married in 1956.
Right.
And how old were you guys when you got married?
16. So that's how we came to be, and that's how we're still together 67 years later. 68 actually. So that we knew each other for a year before we got married. And now we have all these grandchildren. We have 11 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren.
Wow, eh?
Yeah. We lived in Winnipeg for, I'd say, 15 to 20 years, eh? And in that time, we had 5 children. The oldest, I was 17 when she was born. And the 5th one, I was 23 years old. So in 6 years, we had 5 kids. But unfortunately, we lost 2 of our children. One from cancer, and that was heartbreaking because we had to watch him go. And the other one was also heartbreaking. It was a suicide. So those are the 2 hardest things that parents can go through, is to lose their children, because that's part of their life. It's their heart and their soul. And that's why we are here, to produce children and learn to love them and them to love us. And that part we did very well.
Growing up Red River Métis, when I was young and living in the city, up until the age 13, I remember mom and dad was always at the community club with all the kids, and with hockey, and always involved. And mom was always working, at the bank and stuff, and dad was, doing all this physical labor, and mom was doing all this mental labor, right? And then when we moved, I was so thankful when we moved to the beach. I was 13 years old, and we had a little house in Winnipeg, and then we moved to this house out here, and I felt rich. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so rich. We have a big house, a big kitchen, and I'm so thankful for my parents. And times were tough though too, because when you guys were fishing, there was times when money was really scarce, because it was like seasonal, right? So there's times when we had a lot of money, times we were, scared, but you taught me, growing up as a Red River Métis young girl, to work hard, to work for everything you have, do the best you can. You showed me the commercial fishing life. I've seen that. I did it, and that was every season. And also being in the bush. Dad always took us out to the bush with him. We always cut wood out there. So yeah, to me, that is and also music. Music was huge. Around this kitchen table is where I had the most, I'm going to cry now, beautiful memories that you guys gave us. And that's music through thick or thin.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it came. And we had it around this table. We had so much love, and we went through so many things in this family that every family goes through. But music brought us to, it soothed our souls. It made us happy. It made us a little crazy. It made us, we're all like everyone's trying to get on the guitar and sing. It's your turn now. You know what I mean? We had a little bit of competition around the table, but everybody had their own, it's your turn now. That's round the horn, we'd say. And anyway, so I'm really thankful. What's with this crying here? For my parents, for showing me that way of traditional Métis lifestyle that I have shown to my children. And I know for a fact that they love being outdoors. They're thankful for this commercial fishermen history that they have, because we don't have it anymore. It's now gone. The licenses are sold. The bombardiers sold. Everything's sold. So we have history. So that's why I'm thankful that you're here to tell us the story. And also one more thing about the hockey. Dad had these kids in this area. He showed them all sports. Okay. And then Dad built, and he had some men around from the area that helped him build the ice boards with snowboards.
At the hall over
At the
there.
hall. So he'd go every night, and he would, flood the ice. And then they went from there to they got a caboose, and they had a warming shop for us to go skating, and then they had a full size skating rink.
Well, really, what happened there was they had some Métis people here, like contacted me there, and they wanted to have a winter work project here, building a hall. I said, well, to myself and whoever else would listen, that wouldn't work because in the winter you have to heat everything up all, so it was too expensive. So anyhow, in 1978, we started to build a hall. In 77, started to build a hall, and the Métis had the funds for that, and I was the leader of the group. The reason why I really wanted to build that hall too was I had an uncle that died, and we had a lunch for him in this very building right here. Mm-hmm. And it was just a shell was here then. And I said, you know what? When we build a hall, that's what we're building it for lunches for funerals.
Wow.
And I think that's really got going there.
It's stuck.
You didn't have the luxuries that we have, and people will never know the way that you were brought up. And I'm so thankful that you're here to let us to see real people that actually lived with no hydro, no electricity, and lived on the land and made a life, and a good, rich life. And I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of money, but there was a lot of love and a lot of strength. And I was the first in my family and with my siblings to go to school, and then to college to be a nurse. And I think I got that strong work ethic from both of you.
Growing up here with my mother and my grandparents, my mom came back from Alberta pregnant as a young 20-year-old nurse, and she had the support of, now I'm going to cry.
Granny and Grandpa.
She had the support of her parents. I would never be connected to my culture the way I am without them.
Speak up.
See, be tough. Be strong.
So my mom would work, and my papa, he did a lot of babysitting. My papa took care of me a lot. Mm-hmm. And there I would be. I'm a vegetarian now, and I've baffled them for years with my animal advocacy, and animals have always been number one in my life. But my mom would be nursing, my granny would be working in the bank, and my papa and I, that's why we're best friends. I learned that here in our own yard, with all the fruit-bearing trees, my papa intentionally, there are Saskatoons here. There are choke cherries. There's blackberries, which he brought and he transplanted, and he planted them from a AGA in Brandon, and he brought them, threw them in the bush. We have plums that Granny had canned and made jam with, and hawthorns, and also cranberries and hazelnuts. Yep. And that's food sovereignty. And I mean, my friends who grew up in the city, they would never know, okay, the Saskatoons are blossoming. And so having that connection to the land, and also realizing that because I spent so much time with my papa, he would take me on the lake. We'd always go at the end of fishing season, and he'd bring a lunch, and we'd go to the point, and I'd sit at the front of the boat and bring pick-a-pop in those days and nice sandwiches, or I'd go pick nuts with him, and I was like a little kid. And the bush, my papa has a traditional ecological knowledge going back to his dad and his grandpa back to the 1860s. Those are the types of things that made me proud. My granny always said who we were. Granny always said we were Métis because she was always involved with the Manitoba Métis Federation, and she got me actively involved in my early 20s when I was in university, and I held positions, and I was on a LAC board. I then became part of the youth. I was part of the youth before there was as much support. I remember going to meetings when there was no payment. There wasn't even a lunch. You just went because you were volunteering and it was the right thing to do. And I've seen the evolution of the MMF. I've seen the evolution of Infinity Women. But because my grandparents taught me to be a community-oriented person, we have a strong Métis community here, where with our community club and with the Métis, they're separate, but we're all pretty much the same families, but they argue amongst each other. Mm-hmm. But I learned to love the land, most importantly. I learned to connect to the land. I learned to volunteer, and my love of music just naturally came from my grandparents. And had my mother, my mother needed the support of her parents because she was a young woman, and they raised me together. And I wouldn't be who I am without them. And I'm so grateful.
Well, again, what Brandy said, I was involved with it when she came along. So I just naturally took anybody that wanted to go to join the MMF. We got to join. We have to start. We have to get a local, and we have to be active. We have to go to meetings.
In 1967, though, Auntie Elsie got you involved. With when the MMF first...
MMF Métis woman.
Yes, and in 1967, she really brought you into the political bodies of the MMF, right?
Yeah. She said, I'm going to take you to this Métis woman meeting, and she said, when they ask for a volunteer, put your hand up. So I did, and I'm here, and I'm still growing, learning, loving every minute. I'm now the elder of the Métis Child Family. I have been for since they began, since the Métis Child and Family grew in Winnipeg, and they're still growing. Love it, and so that's part of my journey as well, to be an elder, to be a spokesperson, to be proud of who you are, pass that on, and to never forget your spiritual background.
Marcella, don't forget there, in 67, this was the first Métis local.
It was the first Métis local in the Southeast.
Yeah.
And I was there, helped to start it up. Yeah.
And she's still the chairwoman today. And plus, also at that time in the 70s is when you wrote the grants in order to build the Stony Point Hall, or Patricia Beach Hall.
Yeah.
So
not Patricia, Stony Point Hall.
Yeah.
Stony Point Community Center. But the thing is, you guys have always had a relationship with the Manitoba Métis Federation, and you have always been active members. And Granny had been part of the inception of Child and Family Services, and you're still the acting chair of our local today.
Right.
Do you remember? I remember in the room when with the IWS there was with Anita, there was about 25 women in there, and we were in that room together. And then in saying that, we've been encouraged by Mom and Dad with the MMF. So then I started with Angel Craft, where I actually started reactivated the local in Victoria Beach, and we're doing very well. It's and that's last year we did that, and things are going very well. So it's continuing on, and there's so many people now that want to be involved, that want to be Métis, and that to me makes me proud that people are so proud of who they are, because it's taken a long time from being knocked down to say, oh no, I'm not, no, I'm just French, or I'm just Scottish, or blah blah blah. Now we're all proud of who we are, and thank God that we have our president, David Chartrand, who got us to where we are, and that's who we can be thankful for.
We were practicing the Métis culture, but we didn't know. We were commercial fishermen. We were berry picking people. We were builders of the houses, and whatever had to be done, you did it with your neighbors' help, because they would help each other. That's the name of the game, is to get back to the days when we were neighbors that helped each other and supported each other, whatever that may mean.
With music, growing up with hearing Mom and Dad playing, Dad always sang Johnny Cash, Mom June Carter, and everybody else, but that harmony was beautiful. I heard it around the table. I heard it in the church. I heard it my whole life. And so then it was only natural. Mother made a 2-song, what do you call it, 45?
45, yeah.
And what year was that?
74.
Okay. And amazing. One's called Tennessee Song, one's called Welcome Home, Honey. They're beautiful. They're written by Wes Wilson. And I remember Mommy always used to go and practice, for her songs. And when she recorded, it was one take and one take. When I recorded, different. But anyway, it was natural progression for me to go into the studio. So then I did my first CD, which was all cover tunes. So I did quite well with that. And then I went back again and I wrote songs. I wrote the song about Sis, who passed away, that a lot of people have send me messages because they like the song. They can, and it helps them when they're grieving. So, and the song came to me within 10 minutes when I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote I Love You and Undying Love, which are beautiful, which is written by Craig Folleringham, the music, he gave me the music. He said, Holly, go home and put some words to this. And I did. And it's a beautiful song. So then I also wrote my song, Sether's Granddaughter, which I'm very proud of. I wrote that 10 years ago in this kitchen. And I was always happy with the verses and the chorus, but one chorus I was not happy with. And that was the chorus. And Mom always said, our families came from the Orkney Islands, like her family, the Scottish side, like English, Norwegian, Scottish,
whatever.
and they came through the Hudson Bay and they married the women in Moose Lake. Well, lo and behold, redriverancestry.ca I found 3 years ago, and I went, are you kidding me? It's all in here. All of our ancestry is in here, and it shows that side. The Vezina side came from Quebec, right? They did the buffalo hunt. That's Louis Vezina, and in Penna, North Dakota, and he married Julie Pepin. Then they had to move from St. Francis Xavier to St. Louis, Saskatchewan, and there's still Vezinas out there that are French speaking. So then anyway, my maternal grandmother and both of Mom's mom and dad, they all came through the Orkneys. So anyway, I found the second verse for my song, and I put in there, my mom was great granddaddy came through the Hudson Bay. He met my pretty Kukum. Now I'm Métis all the way, which means I'm Métis from both parents. And pretty Kukum I put because if you look in genealogy, it always says a name and Cree. A name and Cree woman. Never gave her a name, but obviously she must have been a beautiful woman for these men to come and marry her. And then here we are. So that's how that song came about. And I'm very, very proud of it. And Dad's the one who pushed me. You got to record that song, Holly. You got to record that song. So I finally did. And I got Tommy Dudium to produce it, which I'm really thankful for. And Métis fiddler and producer. And I'm really proud about that. So then my music went along. I played along, blah, blah, blah. Went along. I'm really thankful. And then my kids took an interest in music. So Jesse was 17 at the time. And he's 33 now. So he started his career and he's doing wonderful. I'm really proud of him. And I'm really thankful to sing with my parents. And I have sang in the Why Not Band. And I've played around many places and really thankful to be part of it. And the MMF has encouraged me so much from 2009 with my music. They always encouraged me. They always got me up. And the president likes Patsy Cline. So I, do my...
Don't forget you're on the Métis Hour too.
Yes, and I'm always on, not always. And then Naomi Clark, and they asked me to do the Métis Hour, and I love the Métis Hour, and I'm always listening to it every weekend, and always hear the president's message. And yeah, I'm really thankful for that. I'm so thankful for all of the stuff that the MMF do for me and support my family.
My family was very musical. The whole family was musical, and I was the baby, the youngest of them all. And my next sister to me was 6 years older. So by the time I'm 6 and 7, they were already 13, 14 and beyond. So in that little years where I was around, I heard music all the time. My brothers, one was a guitar player, one was a fiddle player, and my older sister Burl, she played the accordion, she played guitar. They were all musical. And my next sister Fern, she was Queen of the Saddle. She was on CJOB for a whole year. They hired her to come and sing each week. She got her little cowboy outfit on. I remember seeing her get on the bus, or my dad took her there. And I'm looking at this and I see all this musical stuff just happening, and everybody just takes it for granted. And one time I was playing somewhere, and I would say singing somewhere, and this person was playing the guitar, and I didn't know how to play the guitar at that point. And I'm singing. Then the guy said, "You can really sing," he says, "but how come you don't play the guitar?" I said, "I don't know. I just never learned." And they said, "You're a knot and you don't know how to play guitar? That's unheard of." So therefore, my background is strictly laid down in music right from day one. We kept on singing with each other in the family, and as we went our ways, and I joined up with Doc, and he loved to sing and play. So that was another connection to music. So him and I made a good connection, and we not only made 5 children, but we made lots of beautiful music together. And so we had a band later on in later years, another band called the Why Not Band, where my older sister and brother and my 2 sisters actually, and Doc he used to call himself the roadie, and then
King of the roadies.
Then we'd always get him to sing. You see, come on, Doc, it's your turn. So we get up singing. Be darned if they weren't asking for Doc to sing, no matter where we went. We went to one place, and we went to all these homes and legions and you name it. And my sister was separated from us. She was mad. So she phoned up to this place to see if she could get a booking. And the woman said, are you the band that has the Johnny Cash? And she said, no, we don't have Johnny. Oh, sorry, I wanted the band with Johnny Cash. That's another true story. But that was good. That was fun. Yeah. And now the children, my children, my grandchildren, have also come into this band at the same times. Jesse played with us several times. He played bass. We'd hire him to come and play bass for us. That was right into the later years when we just were done. Brandy was singing all the time. Our other daughter that passed away, she was singing with us all the time too. It's natural. And so we carry it on naturally. Nobody's ever had lessons, to like in our generation anyway. It was just something was carried on because we loved it, and it makes us all happy, and it makes other people happy, and that's the name of the game.
Well, I guess I don't have much to say. You said it all.
No.
So anyway, when I started singing, I went to Sunday school. That's where I used to sing with my brother and I. Mm-hmm. And we done a lot of fighting and wrestling and everything, but we're still singers. But that's how I got my start there in singing. Then I always was backing her up singing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, Yeah. But meanwhile, I got to be mentioned there too.
So I watched my mother sing from the time I was small, and I watched my grandparents sing. There were always parties here. There was music. There was always music. My mother then married a musician, and I took more to sports, like in my youth and whatnot. I was in a singing contest when I was 9 in Selkirk, and I came 4th out of 4. And I vowed to myself I was never going to sing again. And I quit. And then I got very serious about sports. I excelled in sports, and I did well. I had scholarships to the States for softball, and I played volleyball. But I loved music. I absolutely loved music. But I got my chops in my grandparents' band, in the Why Not Band. And my beloved Uncle Norman, he was the one who really encouraged me to sing. It was him. I lived with him in grade 12. And he was the one that got me singing. And then people liked my voice. Wherever I sang, people liked my singing. And I really didn't think that I was a singer. I thought my mom was a singer. I thought my brother took an interest in music. But then I went straight to university. I got 2 degrees, an environmental science degree, a teaching degree. I did what I was supposed to do in terms of society, but I wasn't happy. So then in 2019, I put out my first original song, and I was very fortunate. It got on Sirius XM right away. It got a lot of play across the country. It was on the Indigenous Music Countdown. It just took off like wildfire. But it took me time to get there because I was my mom and I had a little band, and I took singing lessons with Ray St. Germain and Leanne Goose. And I like to research. I like to do my research before I do anything. So I took some time to learn about the music industry. But in 2018, I started learning with the Manitoba Arts Network. And then from there, I got involved with Manitoba Music, and it's just been like rapid wildfire. And I'm so thankful. I'm a part-time teacher now, and I get to write songs and music that I love. And I get to write with people that I love and appreciate about things that I know I lived, I've experienced. And my granny sang on one of my songs, Dodged a Bullet. We were in the studio, and you can watch the video, you can listen. Like, And part of that song is true. Those lyrics are true. My granny did pray for me to get out of relationships in a relationship that was not good for me. I wrote a song about my mom, Alberta Rose, about her coming home pregnant, and then the story of my papa and how we're best friends. Besties. But yeah, so music has always been in my world. I took a little bit of a different path, but that's my story. I got hit by a semi in 2017 head on. I had really bad depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And then I got serious about music. I started learning about the industry. You have to realize that it is a business. It is not just something you do in your basement and you're really great at it. You have to learn to market yourself. You have to learn how to, make relationships within the business. And I'm very fortunate because I'm having success.
Very on. You're here.
And I always say my prophecy, it's not what you take with you, it's what you leave behind.
You guys might not have known and been proud of who you were when you were little in the 1930s and the 1940s, but now you get to leave this world respected elders and proud of who you are as a people, and have brought so much traditional ecological knowledge and familial. You've brought so many things to our Métis culture and community that you get to leave this world with your heads held high and be proud of who you are.
Won't be broken.